gentlemen, and my fellow Coloradoans, for those who don't know me, my name is Thomas Graydon. I am a businessman here in Durango and a firm supporter of silver. Yay! It is with great pleasure that this morning I am able to introduce our Colorado Senator, Senator Teller, and he is going to tell us how to vote for silver. Yay! Yay! We all know, living in the great San Juan Basin, that our destinies are ruled by silver. Woo! Yes. So, without any further ado, I present Senator Teller, our senator since 1876.
Hello, one and all. Ladies, gentlemen, men, women, children, I have something to ask you. A vital question, important to your future. Are you happy with the state of our country at the present day? Are you happy about inflation? No! Are you happy that it takes more money to buy clothing and tools and tinware? Are you happy about that? No! Have you thought about what is responsible? Have you thought, and you know, that it is the tariff of 1890? The tariff on foreign imports that protects American companies from outside competition and allows them to raise their prices on us. And have you asked yourself who originated that tariff and pushed it through Congress? Who was it? We all know the answer. William McKinley. The same William McKinley who has the audacity to run for president this year on the Republican ticket.
How dare he?
A supporter of the gold standard. Boo! An enemy of silver.
Boo!
Are you happy about the terrible silver crash that hit us like an avalanche 3 years ago?
No!
Are you happy that the mines closed down and threw all of Colorado's miners out of work?
No!
Are you happy about the suffering of the wives and children who have struggled to keep their families together with the wolf of poverty clawing at the door? Are you happy with that?
No!
Are you happy that all the smelters in Durango, except the copper smelter, shut down because of the silver crash?
No!
And do we know who is responsible for all this pain and suffering? The answer is yes. It was the despised president, the bloated jabbernowl in the White House, Grover Cleveland.
Whoa!
And the leadership of the Democratic and Republican parties who did this to us. And do you recall who defended you when all this was happening? Do you remember that the president and the leadership of both parties in their nefarious conspiracy tried to repeal the Sherman Silver Purchase Act that supported the silver mining industry? That act required the government to buy 4.5 million ounces of silver each month, supporting the silver mining industry and all who worked within it. Do you remember that your senators from Colorado, myself and Senator Wolcott, along with all the senators from the silver-producing states, filibustered that repeal bill for 46 days until it finally passed? Do you recall that senators from all parties joined in the filibuster, including Republicans, Democrats, and populists, to defend you and your livelihoods? Now, at the Republican National Convention last summer in St. Louis, it became obvious that McKinley and his campaign manager the bloated plutocrat from Cleveland, Mark Hanna, had corralled the votes for the presidential nomination. It was also obvious that the supporters of hard money and the gold standard dominated the convention and would adopt a platform supporting the gold standard and opposing restoration of silver to its rightful place in the national economy. When all that became obvious, I walked out of the convention and bolted the National Republican Party. I was joined with many other delegates from the western states. Together we formed a new party, the Silver Republican Party. But it was obvious that we needed a bigger national figure to lead the crusade for silver in this year of 1896. Who would that leader be? As you all know, the answer came at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The Democratic defenders of free silver steadily gained influence through local elections, but the gold standard miscreants still hung on. The convention was deadlocked. Then, on the second day, a tall young man bounded up the steps to the speaker's platform. He began by saying, "The humblest citizen in all the land, clad in the armor of a righteous cause, is as strong as all the hosts of error." This young man then explained, "It is simply a question that we shall decide upon which side shall the Democratic Party fight, upon the side of the idle holders of capital, or upon the side of the struggling masses." That is the question the party must answer first, and then it must be answered by every individual hereafter. The sympathies of the Democratic Party, as expressed in the platform, are on the side of the struggling masses who have ever been the foundation of the Democratic Party. This man went on to say, there are two ideas of government. There are those who believe that if you just legislate to make the well-to-do prosperous, that their prosperity will leak through to those below. The Democratic idea has been that if you legislate to make the masses prosperous, their prosperity will find its way up and through every class that rests upon it. And in defense of silver, free silver, and against the gold standard, this man asserted that if they dare to come out in the open field and defend the gold standard as a good thing, we will fight them to the uttermost. Having behind us the producing masses of this nation and the world, supported by the commercial interests, the laboring interests, and the toilers everywhere, we will answer their demand for a gold standard by saying, "You shall not press down upon the brow of labor this crown of thorns. You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold." This speech catapulted that young man into the Democratic nomination for president. And as we know, that man is the silver-tongued orator of the Platte, the boy orator of Nebraska, the great commoner, none other than William Jennings Bryan. Under Bryan's banner, a mighty alliance has been formed all across this country. He is supported by the Silver Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the National Silver Party, and the Populist Party. Was Bryan nominated through the sinister machinations of corrupt politicians and plutocrats with swollen pockets full of stolen money? No! He was nominated through his own years of hard work on behalf of the working people of this country and by his own eloquence. Mr. Bryan himself has stated, "I will add, for the encouragement of those who still believe that money is not necessary to secure a presidential nomination, that my entire expenses while in attendance upon the convention were less than $100. My friends, I tell you that this presidential campaign is no less than a moral crusade. The fight to return silver to its rightful place is especially crucial in this region of Colorado known as the Silver San Juans. The very existence of Durango, Silverton, Ouray, Telluride, and Creed, and many other communities rests upon the quantities of silver mining nearby and the railroad lines built to connect with those mines. This political contest is not only a contest for a righteous monetary system that will recognize the money of the Constitution, but it will be for a good government, a better recognition of the rights of the people, and a return to the old doctrine of our fathers, a government of the people and by the people. And I might mention that this presidential election is the first in history in which the women of Colorado can vote. I know that you recall that in 1893, the women of Colorado earned the right to vote through a popular referendum. The women of Utah and Wyoming gained the right to vote through action of their legislatures. But here in Colorado, it was through the wisdom of the people as a whole that women were able to assert their rights as citizens through a general vote of all the people. Now, not only the rights of women are important, but also the rights of Colorado's miners. Right now, the miners of Leadville are on strike for a living wage to feed their families. And you here in Durango are so lucky. You have a wonderful newspaper editor of the Durango Democrat, Mr. Day. And here's what he wrote about this on September 11th, 1896, just a few days ago. Miners are denounced for combining and holding out for what may seem stiff wages. But when railroads combine and rob indiscriminately, it is nobody's business. The miner who wants $3 per day for wet work is a menace to prosperity, while the railroad president, who secures a salary of $100 a day, is a nice, smooth gentleman. Now, I have been your United States Senator since Colorado became a state in 1876. I have fought to the best of my ability for the rights and prosperity of the people of Colorado. But I cannot decide this great question of who will be our future president. That decision is up to you, the people. It is up to the men and women of Colorado to assert their dignity as citizens and to vote for those you think will best represent you. I have explained to you today who I think those people are. And so on Election Day, I urge each and every one of you to go to the polls and vote for the Democratic, Silver Republican, National Silver, and Populist Party candidate for President of these United States, William Jennings Bryan. Now, let us give 3 cheers and a tiger for our candidate, William Jennings Bryan. And when I say, and a tiger, everybody growl at your loudest. All right? So let us give 3 cheers for William Jennings Bryan. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! And a tiger, growl! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.